Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Actually, on the microphone. Yep, it is.
Are you good? Can you see us still?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Sometimes when you hit record, it just takes away a camera, or
Oh,
Yeah.
it got really glitchy for a second, but it's all fine
Mm-hmm.
now. So
Yeah. Usually that's like a short-term hiccup.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yep. Cool. Well, I'm coming into this sort of blind. I probably know who you are, but I just don't know who you are, if that makes any sense. So this is exciting
Nice.
for me. Um, do you want to
Yes.
tell the
So I
people who you
reached out
are?
to Sarah a little bit ago, but Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself? How do you like to do that? How do you introduce yourself?
So my name is Sarah. My business is Golden Earth Designs. I am in New York, but like upstate where like New York and Vermont and Massachusetts kind of meet, like right
Mm-hmm.
in there. And I grew up in agriculture, so I did flower farming and all sorts of stuff for years and went to a community studio every once in a while to take a wheel throwing class and was like, this is the best. I love this. But it was every few years I would kind of play around with it. And eventually I had the opportunity to be an assistant at that studio. And so I could actually learn how to like load kilns and mix glazes and recycle clay and like all the nitty gritty stuff of it.
Mhm.
And fell in love with it even more. And a couple, maybe 3 years ago, I got a studio space because it was something I wanted to do more of, but I never had designs to like do it full time. It was just a fun supplementary kind of thing, and I liked learning about it. And I everything kind of grew exponentially from that point, and so I slowly started like dropping all of my part-time jobs. And about a
Mhm.
year ago, I went full time with my business, and that's where I am now.
What's the business called?
Golden Earth Designs.
Golden Earth Designs. Okay. How big was the community studio you were at?
Um,
Was it
it
a
was
pretty
pretty
big
big.
operation, or was it more like the owner and a teacher and a studio tech kind of thing?
No, it was pretty big. So it's an art center that has, it's like 3 floors, and they have everything from like woodworking and stained glass and sewing classes and whatever. And the basement is one of the places in the basement is their pottery studio. So they have a handful of different instructors, and a pretty nice setup. They mostly just did electric firings, so it kind of that was limited, but a lot of the other stuff was like there was a pretty wide variety of things to learn.
Nice.
I'm interrupting because you make buttons.
I do. Buttons are my new obsession.
Are people buying them?
Yeah, so because of my agriculture connections, I go to a lot of wool and fiber fests. And so people will like pick out yarn and then come and match buttons to their yarn and will send me pictures of like sweaters with my buttons, and it makes me super
Wow.
happy. They are not the most lucrative thing, but I really love them.
So do you
I
sell
have
them?
an idea. I have an idea.
Sell them
I'm all
individually?
ears. So I
Okay.
do sell them individually because everyone wants a different amount for different projects.
Okay.
So I tried to sell them in batches and it just didn't really make sense. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll sell it like four for this amount or six. And it was just too complicated. So now it's just large buttons are 450 and small buttons are 350. And that's just what it is across the board. It just
Hmm.
simplifies it.
I know somebody who made her money off of beads and buttons like this, like literally got herself through college this way.
Whoa.
But it was a long
Ceramic?
time ago. A long time ago.
Ceramic or like
Um,
wood? Or
ceramic.
ceramic? Wow.
Okay, I have an idea to make them more lucrative.
I'm
Okay,
all ears.
first, if you're dead set on them being shiny, I would paint the clay first with stroke and coats instead of any other. Like I would only use stroke and coats, honestly,
Oh, that's so
um,
smart.
because you can do it onto greenware. Second, if you're not concerned about them being shiny, I would do it with underglaze, and then I would throw them in a rock tumbler at the end, and that'll make them smooth. And then I would coat them in a. Uh, um, I use butcher block sealant, and
Okay.
that that repels water. That's what I put on all my earrings. So, but regardless, I think that I would paint the underglaze on first,
I never
or
thought of that.
or
How
paint
are
the
you doing them now? I'm looking at
glaze
the
on
kiln
first.
load. It looks like they're just glazed, right?
They're just glazed. Yeah. I have tweezers that I hold them by and I just dip them in glaze and pop them out. And it's a
Oh,
I
you're still
worked it
dipping them.
out. So
That's
it's
cool.
like, yeah, it's not
Easy.
as time consuming as it
Yeah.
was when I first started, but it's definitely time consuming.
Wow. I'm just looking at these like 3 shelves of them, and they're so beautifully laid on this shelf. I'm like, oh
I
my gosh,
know,
how
they're
long
so
did it take
satisfying.
to
They're
just
like little
put them on the
candies.
shelf?
That
Yeah.
I glaze them and I have the shelves like on my work table. So I dip them in the glaze and I like put them right on the shelf. So it's like, I try to streamline that part. But
Wow.
That's wild.
So
Those
they are
are
really fun.
amazing.
Do you
I mean,
keep count
I
of
would
how many
just
you're making?
What's that?
Do you keep count of how many you're making of them?
I don't keep like super close count, but I have like a little baby slab roller. So I'll roll out a slab and I'll know I get like about 90 buttons per sheet or whatever. So then I keep track of like how many slabs I make each time.
You should do some this is just me being like I do small shit all the time. Anyway, do you clean them? Do you like clean them off?
Like the bottoms.
Like the sides and stuff?
No, the way I dip them, it pretty much just gets ideally it just gets the top and like a little bit of the side. And then as I flip it over, I'll like wipe it on a sponge and put it on the shelf. So
No, no,
I'm not
no.
like meticulously cleaning it.
Oh, okay. I mean, do you clean them like with a sponge after you're cutting them?
Oh, in like the greener stage, yes. I do
Okay,
like a
okay,
quick swipe
okay.
around it, yeah.
I hope that I'm about to change this whole process for you. If you because you can keep if you've got your whole like glazing situation figured out, if you just cut them, don't clean them, like don't even clean them, and throw them into a rock tumbler at the bisque stage, you won't
Oh.
have to clean a single edge.
Would that change the way that the
Ooh.
glaze attaches to them if they're rock tumbled,
No.
you think?
No, you just have to wash them off pretty aggressively. So that's what I do with all my jewelry and all my like dominoes and stuff like that. I rock tumble them at bisque stage. I would set a timer the first time for like each hour and see how like how long you need to do it, but it will make them so smooth, so wonderful, so like perfect, and you don't have to do anything.
I love this idea. I have a rock tumbler, so I need to try
Wow,
this. I'm
that's
writing
great.
this
Yeah, and you
down.
don't have to put any medium in them either. Just put the
They just rub against each other and
Yep, just put the bisque pieces in. If you do have, maybe the first time make some small bisque pieces and those can like move against them, but the small ones should do that just fine.
Okay.
So,
cool. Ooh, I love this idea. This is
I
fantastic.
mean, I bet you could fit a ton in there.
yeah.
Yeah, they are little things. You could probably
Ooh,
fit
I
a lot
love the
in.
little trays that you have at the shows with them in it. She's got little clear, I don't know, what are those normally used for? Are they just jewelry trays or?
I think they're jewelry trays. I really want like when I go into these fiber stores, they have these big wooden trays for buttons, and ideally I want to get like one of those big antique ones, but the little ones work for now. They're easy to
Oh,
transport.
are those the typesetting trays?
I think so. I think that's what they are
Mhm.
originally for.
I used to have one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
The
look
clear is
awesome.
nice though, because it doesn't add any. Well, you've got a bunch of wood tones in the booth though, so wood would look really cool too.
Yeah, now I actually have wood ones because the clear ones were just a little too small. So now I've switched them all over to wood ones, but I would like a big wood one at some point.
You're
Nice.
living my dream.
Making buttons?
Yes. Also, I really want, like, I'm really upset that this is a total tangent, but I'm really upset that like small cutters have a seam on them, and I really think that like 3D printed cutters, like, I have a contact for that, but oh no, she went away. Oh, there you are.
What do you mean a seam on them? What does that mean?
So when they make cookie cutters, they make them with metal typically, and they wrap it around, and there's like the tiniest seam because
I
they
know what you're talking
overlap
about.
it.
Okay.
And it really infuriates me. And so round cutters are definitely like,
how could they not do that? Would they have to have a
3D, they'd have to
tube?
3D print it.
3D print it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sarah, how do you cut
So,
yours out?
With little tiny metal cookie
Yeah.
cutters.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do all have that very infuriating seam.
Ugh.
But I have a friend that does 3D cutting, and I would love to pick his brain to try to get him to make cookie cutters and also make like, instead of just cutting one at a time, have at least like 4 or 9 or something like that, so you can kind of stamp a whole bunch at the same time. I would just have to make sure the pressure is even enough for that, but I feel like
Yeah.
that would be way more efficient.
yeah, for sure.
Do you
And then
always use
even
one
on
clay
top
body?
of that, oh, go on, go on.
I said, do you always use one clay body for all of them, or do you have different bodies?
I mostly just use one, a speckle body, but
Mm.
sometimes I use just a regular, like a stoneware,
Yeah.
a darker stoneware.
Are
Yeah.
there people that ever request them without any glaze on them at all, so they're kind of matte, or is that just not comfortable?
I think it's not ideal because it's just not going to. I think it might be more. I guess if it was like rock tumbled or smooth or whatever, it wouldn't be an issue. My people are concerned about any sort of edges that would catch on the things that they make. But
Mm.
I guess if
Yeah.
it's unglazed clay that's been put in a rock tumbler, that's not an issue.
Yeah, you definitely have to make it smooth for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry that we got on a whole button tangent. Like
I'm obsessed with buttons, so it works out, honestly.
my life is like, how can I make the smallest thing so many times? Like I like if I could make the studs that I make, and if I could make all of my money on studs, I would be the happiest person alive. Like I don't know why it is something with like something small and something repetitive to me is just the best thing in the whole world.
It's so satisfying, and it's also shipping buttons or earrings instead of packing and shipping mugs. It's
Oh my
just
God.
like getting an order for a mug, I'm grateful, but I'm also like, God damn it, like I don't want to pack this thing up. Like buttons, I throw them in a manila, like a padded envelope, and it's done. That's it.
Yeah, there's
It's so fast.
can you even break a button if it's in a padded envelope? I don't
Look,
even know
I've
what you
never
have
had
to do
it
to
happen.
break that.
Yes, exactly.
This is 4. This is 4 boxes that I can hold in my 2 hands, and they weigh nothing. They weigh nothing.
Mhm.
They cost $5 to ship, and one of these is a wholesale order. So
Oh
there's
my
like
God, that's awesome.
10 things in here.
And the thing is, you had to get bigger boxes because your other ones were too small.
Yeah.
You were like, I
Kept
can't ship
losing
it in
them in
this
the
tiny
mail.
box because I can't even fit a label on it or
Yeah.
whatever.
I know I
No,
have
I
the
love little
packages
things.
too, but like the envelopes. Do you have fun envelopes? I encourage you to get fun envelopes.
I do. I have fun. Well, they're fun colored at least. They're like a really pretty teal. So that's fun for me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have watermelon envelopes right now, and I'm
Ooh. Oh, yeah. So I ordered a mystery box of earrings from you like maybe a year-ish ago. And I distinctly remember them coming in like a super fun envelope. And
Yeah, they're
it
very
made me
like
very
tropical,
happy.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
Yeah, well, I wish they had fun boxes. God damn it.
Yeah, that
Why do
is
we have to
true.
have brown boxes? Like lame.
It's true.
You could stamp it with something, but I don't know
Stop
how
Or
it.
fun
get the
a black
custom
stamp would
tape
be.
or whatever.
And
that
just tape
people get,
around
like-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, just tape the whole box.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow. Do you have wholesalers that purchase them?
I don't yet. I would like to because it would just be kind of nice to just make a bulk and like send them out. But I haven't quite pursued that just
Would
yet.
the price be good with you if it's a 50-50 split at $450 for a big button, $350 for a small button, cut in half?
I would have to have them order enough. That's my
Yeah.
thing with wholesale. Like
'Cause
I'm
usually it'd be
game for
like-
doing wholesale, but like you need to order a lot to make it worth
It'd be
it
like
to me.
$300 is a normal minimum, or $200. How many buttons would that even be at? Like that would be
Well,
like
if it's like
100
$300
buttons at
bucks,
least.
that's like 100 buttons. Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice. The thing is, in like the wool and knitting community, people are fanatic for, I mean, I guess in a lot of communities, people are fanatic for what they love. So if they get buttons for a sweater, that's their new favorite thing, and they're super excited. And then they see that I have mugs with little sheep on them, and then they're like super into what I do and telling their friends. And it's the word of mouth in this community could make it super worth it to have some wholesale orders, wholesale accounts that would get my name out for those sorts of things.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine like quilting store owners are like just like release, just like I can't even imagine a quilting store owner's house, because every time I go into a quilting store, I'm like, wow, it looks like a hoarder lives here, and they've bought everything. They buy everything.
Do you have work in any of those textile stores right now?
I don't currently. So I am pretty new to both wholesale and actually finding kind of my market in the wool, folks. So I'm kind of still getting my feet under me and seeing like what makes sense for me to do wholesale or kind of expand, what makes sense to just go to these markets and be in person. So I haven't quite sought that out yet.
I'm sure you at least cross-pollinate with a lot of them because of the shows that
totally.
At least customer-wise, and then maybe are the shows local to you that you can ask them, hey, where do you shop? Like what stores are, or maybe you know them because there's probably only 3 or 4 in your area or less.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of networking in that way, which is really nice.
Yeah. I had work in 2 different textile stores. I had one or I think 3 different ones over the years. The first one I did was wholesale yarn bowls. I think I was wholesaling those for I was actually selling them retail for like $25 at that point. So that was probably 2016, 2017. And I was holding them wholesale. So they were getting a fucking steal on those. Kind of got them and then I didn't go back to them after that. But that wasn't their fault. That's just my fault with the pricing. But, and then I had another store that they didn't sell any handmade stuff. So I was the only kind of handmade person there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get checks maybe twice a year. And I would kind of have to ask them like, hey, did I sell anything? Can you give me a report? And then I have one other one that I still currently sell at. I've stopped selling at the second one. That was consignment. And then this one is consignment as well. And it's kind of similar where they have stock, they have yarn bowls, but they also have other forms there. But I've found with like those type of stores, the customers like they might have repeat customers, but they haven't I don't know if it's the vastness of like other handmade stuff there, that it just didn't have the consistent purchasing power that other stores that are like art galleries or boutiques. But not to say that it wouldn't.
They're buying yarn for $500.
But I think the buttons are good, like things that go with the yarn that they're there to buy. So it's very situational based on what the project they're working on. Whereas how many yarn bowls is somebody going to buy, or maybe they go in there to gift. But I'm curious to see once you get in there, like what kind of results you have. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's hard. Definitely it's good to get in the niche kind of areas that you already have interest in, that you're already around those people, and maybe you do some yourself, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's really fun about the wool festivals, is that like I'm sitting there like knitting, and I've been knitting my whole life, so I don't have to be like staring at my knitting. I can still be like engaging with people, but then they're going, what are you making? What kind of yarn is that? What sort of pattern? Whatever. And it's immediate in with them, and then they're standing there talking, and then they're like, oh my god, you have buttons, oh my god, you have mugs with sheep on them. And it's just
a conversation
really
starter.
nice
I like
exactly. Yeah. So it helps that I'm already like interested in this sort of thing. It's an easy in.
And then if you have work somewhere, you could be like, oh well, I get my stuff here. If you want, I also have work there. There's also buttons there. If you ever are working on a project and need something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lady online that sells on Etsy that sells stamps for ceramics people, and she also sells like low fire like pots and stuff. I have one of her little plates that my mom got me, and she kills it. She
like
just
clay
sells
stamps or like rubber.
Yeah, Yeah, like those bisque clay stamps, and she just makes a bunch of them, and then she sells them, and like she just sells random packages, like
Really?
set of
Oh.
30,
Does
set
she
of
make roulettes
40,
as well, or is it just individual stamps?
just stamps.
Okay. Nice.
And I was thinking that if I like, it'd be interesting to buy a pack of buttons, you know? Yeah. You should do mystery boxes of buttons.
So I have a big annual second sale and it's coming up this weekend, and I'm gonna have mystery button bags, just
I love
kind of
that.
test the waters and like see, because I don't know if people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is so fun, or if they're gonna go, I want to know exactly what buttons I'm getting because it needs to work with my projects or my aesthetic or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what people think about it. But I'm gonna test it out.
Okay, this is my last thing I'm talking about for buttons. This my newest project this Christmas is I'm making my own clothes, and my mom sent me a bunch of fabric and stuff, and I went to Michael's and I bought buttons, and you know what? I could have bought like 5 buttons, but did I? No. I bought a billion. I bought so many goddamn buttons. I probably have 2,000 buttons. I'm not even kidding.
Are you gonna just have like lines of fabric, and then you're just gonna button up this quarter, button up this quarter, button up this quarter, so you could just make your own, utility shirt?
What I'll probably do is I'll probably sew on the buttons as non-functional, as like doing them in clumps and stuff, and make them like artsy, because they're all neon, of course, obviously. Like, duh. Yeah. So, well, they were buy 3 get 3 free. Like, what am I gonna do?
Only what are you supposed to
do? Like, what are you supposed to do? I got 6 bags of buttons.
How many buttons is that?
It was like packs of 150.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You literally got like 800 buttons or something.
I don't know. I'll probably start like pinning them to my walls and just have button walls.
Oh my god.
If they were close, I'd show you them. But...
Can you incorporate them with your bracelets, your wooden bracelets, and put some buttons on there?
That'd be fun. I could make a button bracelet.
Yeah. Get creative with it.
Oh my god.
All right. Sarah,
why did you ask Sarah on the podcast in the first place? Obviously it wasn't the buttons.
It was mainly the mug clubs. That's what my thoughts were.
Mm-hmm.
You did answer a couple things. So you said you've been doing it full time for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the ways that you sell your work?
Yeah.
The different ways that you do that?
Yeah, so I mostly sell at markets. That's my primary revenue stream for sure. I do a little bit of wholesale, not a ton, but I do some, which would be mostly like the mug club things. Those are the primary wholesale things.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a button club.
Oh my god.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Just when you think we get out of buttons,
you realize it's going to be a recurring topic. That's genius. That's genius. I see people doing mug clubs, and I'm like, I just don't know if like my clientele would go for a mug club, like a subscription, like you get it every quarter or whatever. But people would totally go for a button club.
That would be so affordable.
That'd be so fun.
So fucking affordable. Okay, continue.
I love it.
I'm just here I'm just here now.
Yeah, so a little bit of wholesale, mostly in-person sales, and then I do some online, but I focus on the in-person, and then if I happen to have the time or the excess pieces, I'll stock my Etsy or something like that.
Yeah. How long were you doing it part-time before you jumped in full-time?
I mean, I had done like a couple of tiny little local markets early on, but I feel like probably 2 years before I went full time it was basically when I got my studio. So 2.5, 3 years ago was when I started doing more markets, but it was still like a few a year. It's not a ton.
Okay. So did you just know that you were just having success with the markets, and that's kind of how you landed on, okay, markets the main form of income for you?
Yeah, I think so. I used to do also really well online, but I think markets just kind of became a more natural thing for me to just be in person talking with people. And then when you're at markets, you make friends with so many other vendors and they suggest other markets. And so it just kind of self-perpetuates from there.
Yeah.
But I think I prefer, I mean, there are, upsides and downsides to both markets and online, but it just seems like markets were a really good fit for a while and maybe will continue to be.
Is that what
We'll
do you prefer to do markets long term, or is it kind of where it's most profitable?
It's definitely, I feel like it's where it's most profitable now. But even just in the past few months, I feel like I've gotten more buyers and customers that live farther away from me. So I think I want to be more mindful this year of like not neglecting that market either. Like,
Yeah.
so it might feel just profitable and easy to do in-person markets all the time. But if I have a whole bunch of people online who are like, we will buy stuff if you just stock your website, then it's silly to not do that.
Right. Just have something that lasts a long time that you can restock and replenish.
Yeah.
How far are you having to travel for them, or have you had to so far?
So I stay pretty local. I stay within a couple of hours typically from where I am, which doesn't get you that far in upstate New York. But
Yeah. And I would suspect with where you're at, you probably don't have many shows outside of maybe April to October,
right.
November.
Exactly.
I mean, probably all the way to December, I guess, with them.
Yeah, no, that's true. But they really don't kick in until like May, June, I feel like around here. But I try to, well, last year, this time, I don't know if is my video cutting out on you
It's
guys?
going in and out, so.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to do, but
it's fine.
Okay. I tried to use like this time of the year last year to just focus on the wholesale like mug club sort of orders that I had. And then this year I didn't take those on. So I'm just trying to stock up on things and have things ready to go for markets.
Yeah. Do you like that kind of, how is it this time of year though? Are you getting that cash flow from the mug club, mug subscription sort of deal? Or are you having something else that you're having to do to supplement?
So since I'm not doing mug clubs this year, it was kind of a test to see like how good of a budgeter am I. But luckily, working in agriculture, like I've always had seasonal work, so I've always had to know how to like make it stretch for like certain periods of time. So it's been fine this year. I just have to be mindful of it, and it's not super like there's definitely a better way that I could be doing it, but it works out okay. Like I'm coming off of the crazy busy Christmas season and then just trying to like keep my head down and make a bunch of stuff and have it ready to go for like online and markets and stuff.
Yeah. Did you have kind of a little bit of a hangover after Christmas from the hustle bustle? And how long did it take you to kind of get back into the making?
I am only just getting out of that fog. Like I was dead to the world for most of January.
Yeah.
It took me a while to kind of get out of that. And then just to kind of let myself not be super productive like that. I felt really bad for a lot of January that I wasn't doing all the things in the studio that I thought I was going to be doing. And I just kind of had to let myself like just chill out and like it'll work itself out, like, but I had to take a lot more time than I thought I would need to take.
Okay. Becca, does that change? Like, you've been doing full time pretty long time. So does that time of year, has that shifted for you over the years of like how you choose to spend your January, February with
doing absolutely nothing?
Nothing.
I
Is it because like the effort put in, there's just not that many sales opportunities, so it just feels like kind of a waste to put in that effort, or is it just getting creative with other ways to?
I think that, I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I know about me and I know about Heidi, our other friend Heidi. She takes the entire month of January off, and I've kind of followed suit doing that. And I didn't take the entire month of January off, but most of it, I took a lot of December off just because of where I was. But yeah, I think that you like, for some reason, I've always just been like, make as much money in November and December that you can. And this is how much I want for the rest of, like, to cover me through March, essentially. And I feel like you do that too, Ryan. You just don't really know that you do it. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, I take advantage as much as I can at the end of the year.
yeah, and then you don't really sell anything other than like trickle Etsy stuff
Yeah, I keep
through
little things. I mean,
through
the only
March.
other additional income has been the bookkeeping workshops. That's been a good
Right.
chunk of change for the
Yeah.
last 2 months.
Right, and because you don't need the money, so you don't see the money necessarily,
Yeah.
like the way we do, I would imagine,
Yeah. I see it when I
So,
look back at the whole month and see like what did I
yeah.
actually sell this month compared to last year at this time.
Right.
Or
And I'm
yeah.
like, right now I'm looking at my bank account and being like, okay, there's $1,200 in there. Cool.
You're like, how long can that last me?
How long can that last me?
What's my plan for replenishing that?
And like, I just did a show, worst show I've ever done in my entire freaking life. And so I'm like, okay, gotta figure it out. Like, this is about the time every year that I'm like, cool, we're fucked. Like, let's go. Like, yeah, but
I would suspect if you have the inventory but you're not selling on the end of that, the supply is up but the demand is not as high. You're like, okay, what the fuck do I do now? Because if you're in the opposite and you're like, supply is down, demand is high, you feel pretty good. You're like, okay, I got my marching orders, I know what I need to be doing.
well, and Sarah, I think that you're in like a really good spot with all these fiber people, because like, when do you make wool stuff in the winter when you can't go outside? Like, it's like you could really, like, if you capitalized on that, like, January through March, everybody's at home knitting their sweaters situation, like, you could have all year round.
Yeah.
If you wanted it, but I
Sure.
still am a fan of taking January off. But
Yeah, it was sort of an intentional, like, I didn't plan on taking most of January, which is what I ended up doing, but I knew I was going to intentionally take a break at the end of December and definitely into January, because um I can just, I feel like you guys probably relate. Like, I can just work myself into a tizzy like 24/7 if that's what I'm going to do. Like, I will never stop working. But I'm trying to be really mindful that, like, I do love making pottery, and I know there are going to be days, there obviously are days where I don't love it. But if I want to keep making good pottery, like, I want to feel good about what I'm making, and I can't force that to a certain extent. Like, I can't. So I'm trying to build in structured time to be like, okay, I'm going to be a person outside of this so that when I come back to it, it's something
Mhm.
that I care about. I might not love it every day the way that I did when I started out, but like, I I think I think that's important, for at least for the way I
For the
operate.
marathon,
Like,
for that long-term enjoyment and
yeah,
fulfillment
this
of
is
it.
oh,
something
for
I want to
sure.
do for years.
Yeah, I mean, you could get to the point where I'm at, where I feel like I don't ever want to do it, and then when I do it, I'm like, oh, I forgot that I actually enjoyed this.
Right.
Like,
Does
wow.
the thought of the alternative, the non-pottery life and doing something else of some other job, does that keep you enjoying it more too? Or, do you let your mind go there of, hey, this is what I could be doing, or this is what I was doing before,
Yeah.
and this is what I'd hoped for, so this is kind of the reality that I wanted for myself?
Yeah, definitely. I think the freedom, it doesn't always feel like there's a lot of freedom, like when I'm in crunch time or something like that. But what definitely keeps me wanting to do this is the idea of like going to a 9 to 5 when I want to be doing something for myself and making things for my own business. And so when I'll get frustrated or whatever, I'll think about, yeah, the alternative. Like there would be security for sure in going to a 9 to 5 and getting a paycheck every week and having health insurance. And like these are all things that are
Health
super
insurance?
viable.
Who needs that?
What's that? But I then recognize like all the things that I would be giving up as well. And I
Like
think like
sleeping
Ryan,
in.
you seem to be Ryan, you seem to be really lucky in the sense that it sounds like you like your day job.
I do. Yeah.
And I think like that's the best of both worlds, you know. It doesn't mean it's not hard work and it doesn't take you out of the studio. Like those are all real things. But that's barring finding a 9 to 5 job that I genuinely love. Like it just doesn't feel like an option anymore. Maybe it will down the road, and maybe it will be more appealing down the road.
No,
But
it
now
gets
I
worse.
really like I really like the freedom of it right now.
It like gets worse. Like the more you do something, I'm learning this currently. Like the more you do something, I've been doing pottery for 15 years. And the more I do it, the more I'm like, what could I do? There's nothing.
There's
I'm not
that too.
qualified to do anything. Like, do you want me to clean for you? I could do that. Like,
well, it's interesting to me. Like I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Like my parents owned their own business for my entire life. And I distinctly remember growing up and then becoming a young adult and getting my own jobs and being like, I never want to work for myself because you have so much responsibility. You don't have any of the security. Like I saw how much my parents worked, and I was like, I don't want that. I want to clock in and get my paycheck and that's it. And
I
then
still want that.
I know it sounds great. But then like I started doing something different and like slowly the business grew more and more. And then I started realizing like how nice it is. Like my youngest brother just had a birthday and I could just take the morning and like go out to breakfast with him and hang out. And I didn't have to call anyone. I didn't have to request time off. Like I could just be like, it's random Tuesday. I'm going to hang out with my brother. Like those sorts of things are super valuable to me and are more valuable to me, I think, the older I get.
Hey guys, we are breaking up the podcast because we want to talk about our amazing sponsor, L&L, and we have some awesome things to talk about, especially now because NCECA is rolling up soon in late March, and so Ryan is going to tell you the kilns that they have available at NCECA for a discounted price that you are available to purchase if you so please.
Yep. All right. So if you're going to be in Richmond, Virginia between March 20th and 23rd for NCECA, we'd love to see you there. They are giving away the smaller kiln of the 3 that they have available. So this is the E18S3. This is a 2.5 cubic foot kiln. It goes to cone 10. They're giving it away.
Yeah, make sure you sign up for the drawing there.
Yeah, so you can stop by their booth anytime. I want to say between Wednesday, Thursday, early Friday, and I think they draw it Friday afternoon. So make sure to get entered in to win that. It's a good small size kiln. The next size up, which is the most popular, and actually the kiln that I got last year at NCECA, is the E23T3. That's their most popular kiln. It's a little over 6.5 cubic foot kiln going to cone 10 again. And that's a great one for if you're a studio potter or you just need something that's a good, workhorse for you. You can get bisqueware and glazeware through that, and it's a great kiln. I have 2 of that exact same kiln body. So, and then the last one they have is the EQ2827-3, which is a production level kiln, is kind of how they label it. It's a 10 cubic foot kiln, and again, that goes to cone 10. So all these go to cone 10. You got different sizes available, and if you would like to get your hands on one of those, and we can get you connected with L&L, you can reach out to us through Instagram or through email. If you can email us at wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. we will get you connected with the folks over at L&L Kilns to give you more info so you can stop by.
Yeah. And all of those also have all of the Genesis controllers too, so that's really exciting as well. So, you're gonna also, if you need to look up pictures, you can go to hotkilns.com.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hope to see you at NCECA, and make sure to stop by and tell L&L we sent you. Thanks.
It's infuriating. Oh, go on.
What's so infuriating?
It's infuriating, the benefits that are part of like having your own job. It's infuriating. Like I'm in California right now. I woke up at 12. I don't have any money, but I woke up at 12. Like
yeah.
And
nobody has to you don't have to report to anybody.
Yeah.
So
right, I came to California for 2 to 3 weeks and whatever. And that's infuriating to me because I want it to have no benefits. I want there to be no benefits so that it would be so easy to go to another job. But every time I go to another job, I'm like, I'm sorry, $15 an hour? No. Yeah. No.
And you're gonna make me work these specific days, and I have to work every Saturday or every other Saturday. Right. I have to request to get that off.
No. But then you have a shitty show and you're like, it would be so nice to get a bi-weekly paycheck. It's just infuriating.
Yeah.
What kind of industry were your parents in? You said they were entrepreneurs. What kind of
So my dad still is, he does everything. He is a fence builder and a deck constructor and lawn maintenance guy and plow truck driver and
general contractor.
This man can do everything. And before that, when I was little, he managed a lawn and garden store. So he then had more regular hours, but for most of my life, he was doing a million different things.
Yeah. And your mother? Was she? Did she assist him in that, or
her role was mostly in the home. I have a bunch of siblings, so she had her hands full with all of us.
Oh wow, okay.
And then as a few years ago, we teased her that all of the kids grew up and moved out, and she needed something to nurture, so she started raising dogs. She now breeds these labs. It's very adorable, but that's her thing now. So they're both just very busy people.
Yeah. So at the place that you're at, I don't know how old you are. If you do you mind?
I'm 33.
33. Okay. We're basically the same age.
No.
So
Brian's younger than us.
Yeah, I'm 32 for another couple months. So with where you're at in your life now, do you look back to your dad and his business and things like that and see are there lessons I can learn or advice I can ask so that it helps you?
I don't ask him about things or think about things in that broad way with him. I ask him very specific business sort of questions. He's very good to just go and let me pick your brain about this specific thing. But I feel our lives look so different. When he was my age, he already had a few kids and it was a whole different approach for him. I feel it's a little more relaxed, I think, relaxed. I'm not supporting children, so it's very relaxed in that way.
Yeah. I think it's interesting where you, there's certain relationships where you have this little thread of something that you share now that you're self-employed and you've got this, you're the sole person, you're, you decide and you spend your time however you want, and you kind of have this thread with certain people that have done that, and it's a shared thing that you have with them that you can relate, and you can probably ask them for information and advice, and maybe it was significantly different with them at your age doing that versus in 2024, but it's interesting to have that sort of thing whereas I would suspect talking to family or other people that are used to the 9-to-5 life, and you're saying, well, what do you do? And they just don't really understand that, oh,
totally.
You really?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
We could have an entire podcast about like just like the only topic of every single episode is us not relating to the people around us and like them thinking like that we have not a real job and they're like, oh, that's so fun. Like,
Yes,
we could
that's
talk.
so fun comment. Like, oh, that's so fun. You just get to make stuff.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
And all the not fun shit that
Wow.
you have to figure out on as well, because you're the marketer and the tax person and the, you got to figure out how to get paid and buy all the shit that you need to and figure out, whew.
Wow, you got audited? That's so fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about
Let's
mug
talk
clubs?
about the actual mug clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about mug
So,
clubs.
what do you mean when you say mug club? What is your side of what you call a mug club?
I think of it as just custom wholesale, honestly. That's what it kind of lines up with in my brain. So I feel like mug club is very, in my head, it's very specific to like what you did with the brewery recently, where like they bought a whole lot of mugs, where like it was then when customers bought into it, it was like part of their mug club and whatever. So I just have local businesses who want their logos on mugs or want something unique to them on a mug. And I get the custom stamps made up and all of that and make the mugs for them. And then they just retail them.
What do you call them? Do you call them logo mugs or do you call them subscription, like custom
Logo
order?
mugs.
Logo
Logo
mugs?
mugs or custom wholesale or something like
Custom
that.
wholesale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. How did you go about getting maybe your first one?
So at the time I was working at a brewery and I thought it'd be really cute to make these mugs that it's in an old train station. So there's this really cute graphic logo and I was like, that'd be adorable on a mug. So I just kind of made a couple for the owners and they're like, oh, hey, let's do a small run. Let's make like 10 of those mugs or something like that. And so that was how it started. And then there have just been other businesses that have come up and have wanted a similar thing. So of course it's evolved and changed over the years. To fit different businesses or to fit what I need it to be at that point.
Are those conversations happening at markets that you're at, or are they going to those other businesses and they just happen to see them, or how are they kind of aware that you have that as an option?
I think it's actually so far it's been pretty much exclusively local businesses who will follow me on Instagram and see that I made mugs for someone else. And then they hear how well those mugs went over and then they want them for their business, which is great, but it doesn't sell well at every business. So trying to figure out which ones to focus on.
And when you say they went over well, do you mean that you were able to make them in a very high quality way, or they went to those businesses and they seemed to be selling?
They went to those businesses and sold out within a day and people would be super excited and there would be a super long list of people waiting for the next batch. And so then other businesses would see all of that hype and then want their own mugs, which is great for me. But it was definitely there were some places I feel like I could predict that mugs would do well there. One of them being a local sheep farmer that I met through the wool markets. She has a big online following and she wanted the image of one of her sheep stamped in the logo on the mug, and those sold out like crazy.
I'm scrolling through trying to find some of those.
It was about this time last year. I don't know if
okay. I probably scrolled past it.
Maybe I can send you some. And yeah, then there are other businesses that kind of assumed that their customers, their clientele would immediately sell out their mugs in the same way. And it depends so much on the business, I feel like.
Yeah.
And who
do you have those conversations with them about, hey, this is what I would suggest? Is it a price point thing for how you feel if it's going to do well or not? Because maybe the customers there you don't think are willing to spend that, or is it you don't?
So that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a price point thing. But I actually did around a small batch of mugs. My minimum order for custom wholesale mugs is 15 pieces. and I did a 15-piece order for a local diner that's been around for forever. And I was kind of like, I don't know if their clientele wants to spend money on handmade pottery. Like their clientele might spend money on their nice trucks, but I didn't see them loving handmade pottery. And that place did super well. They sold out immediately and then ordered 100 mugs the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So,
is that this Benson's family
goodness.
restaurant one?
That's the Benson's, yeah.
Benson's, okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So that I never saw coming.
Wow. So is it just they have a loyal following of customers that it's a family restaurant, so I would suspect them being around since I think it says 1987.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, I think they just have like a cult following, and people would go, oh my gosh, my grandparents used to bring me there every Sunday. I'm going to get them mugs for Christmas or whatever. So I really think it has to do with the following, like super caring about that business.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Becca, I'm going to put it in the chat if you wanted to look at them. This is actually that's actually a really good post that shows a bunch of different ones that you've done.
Yeah, and then there are some like I did one for a local used bookstore, which is like this gorgeous place. It's out in the middle of the woods. The bookstore is in all these old barns. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. They have I don't think they have like a massive following, but the people who follow them like really love them. And they've been sitting on mugs for months and months and months, not selling. So I really I can't figure that out. Like, why did
I wonder if
some of that is,
I wonder if some of that is like they're okay with the risk of it just sitting. Or if they're, hey, these are additions for our shop, and they're not in this like sellout model to hurry up and recoup their costs quickly. They just want to have an option for people that want, I don't know, to remember that place when they're visiting, or I don't know.
Yeah. That's possible.
That's the Alpin Books one.
Yeah. It's such a cool place. It just, really surprised me.
So how have you treated them a little differently since you started? What's kind of how have you evolved that kind of a agreement over the years?
I feel like I've gotten better about charging what I feel like I actually need to charge to make it worth it for me. And it still doesn't feel like enough in some ways, but when I have a minimum order of like 15, at least I sell them for like between like $30 and $34 a mug, which is right there will like take a lot of people's interest away, like wholesalers or businesses who are inquiring, like right there when they hear $30 to $34, they're like, oh, that's what I was going to sell them for, like, and they're just not interested. But that weeds a lot out there. But I think just getting more secure and being like, well, this is what it needs to be in order to make it worth it for my time. And if it doesn't work for you, like no harm, no foul, that's fine. But not trying to like contort myself to make these sales work. Is something that I definitely learned a lot, because it is not worth it then.
I mean, it looks like you've already gotten over time, close to 10, maybe 12 of the different businesses that you've worked with on them.
Something like that. Yeah.
And you don't want to go, don't want your whole business to be making.
I don't. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like I am very happy with this way it's slowly grown, because that's not what I want my whole business to be. It is a nice supplement, and I really like having pots in local businesses. I think that's awesome in this little tiny town. But it's certainly, I don't have no interest in having it be like a bigger portion of my business than it already is.
I think also something to like be said about the type of businesses that are selling these mugs is that most of them, that's not their only line of income, like they're selling the mugs because they think it's fucking cool that they're going to be selling these mugs. Like they could add $10 to the mugs and still make money. At that, I feel like that's the type of product that's a dollar, like it's a dollar's a dollar sort of situation. Like they're supporting you, they're getting their name out, they're giving their customers mugs. Like there's so many more benefits than just like doubling the price, Like if you ever have anybody saying that, like, that's a good selling point, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're not. How many handmade unique items do you have with your own brand on it? That's not just purchasing, I don't know, a flag or a banner or something. Like how many people are, or a t-shirt, like how many people wear a t-shirt with a branded business on it of a bookstore versus, you know, a mug that you can have while you're reading your books or whatnot.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And it seems like they're all small businesses too. They're not bigger businesses or corporations that are buying them for their employees as gifts or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, I've gotten a couple inquiries about that, but usually those inquiries come in like November and they're like, we want these for Christmas presents. And I'm like, oh, that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. We can start talking for next year.
What's your deadline for a Christmas delivery like that? Do you have a set?
I don't. It really depends on what else I have going on. Like it's not, I don't really have a hard and fast rule on it. If I can squeeze something in for especially like a repeat customer, I will. But if it's someone who's just asking a lot and it's too short notice, I'm like, it's just not worth it. Like I can't. Like I want to get my foot in the door in all these different places, but I can't have it be at the expense of actually losing my mind.
Right. So how do you simplify that initial conversation? Do you have a set, I want to say like a template, but do you have a guideline of all the information that could answer as many questions that they could come across so that you don't have that back and forth? Because I felt like the back and forth is pretty draining.
Yeah. I still I mostly do the back and forth at this point, but I'm working on like a Google form where I have, these are your different mug shape options. These are your different color options. Like, and then, you know, write a paragraph or write a brief statement about what you're looking for. And then have pretty early on giving them a price range, because that again will like people who are serious about it. I'm happy to spend time with them, but the amount of emails I have drafted that have taken hours out of my life for people who just are like, oh, that's too expensive. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Totally fine. But like, I need a way to like weed those people out a little bit more. So I'm working on creating like a Google form or something like that to make at least that initial inquiry better.
Yeah. It's tough because you want to be accommodating. You want to show interest in doing the project, but you also want to be upfront about, hey, these are my minimums. This is how much you're going to spend. You know, 15 mugs at $30 a mug is $450. So you're going to spend a minimum $450 for the baseline mug. And here's I guess the deadline of as quick as I can get it, because I feel like the price and the deadline are the two most important factors of like they could easily say yay or nay off of that. You don't want to be like not even showing them product of what's possible. But if you have examples of other ones, you could show those and be like, hey, these are some of the other businesses I've worked with.
That's kind of what it looks like right now. Like people will send me an email asking about something, and then my response to them is like asking them specific questions and then showing them examples of the handful of latest mugs that I've done. So they have then something to go off of where they can go, oh, I really like the glaze on this mug, or I really like the shape of that mug. And it's easier to go from there than to just like start from scratch to like envision a new mug for them.
Right.
And it shows them like I'm communicating not face to face, but one-on-one with them. So I think that's also nice.
Yeah, I think it helped your credibility too to have those in the back burner of, hey, this is what I have done, this is what I'm capable of.
Yeah, definitely.
And then your social media helps with that too.
Yeah. How did your mug club go? Had you done a mug club before, or was this the first one?
I had not. I've never done anything.
Here's a mug club virgin.
Scale. Yeah, mug club virgin. And I went in pretty big with 200 mugs. So
that's significant.
It was a lot. I had a goal for myself to do one at some point. I just didn't. I wasn't seeking it out. I wasn't inquiring with different businesses, and I think a custom mug is very, you kind of have to let them come to you. In my opinion, I don't.
Yeah.
It would probably get pretty draining to reach out to places to try to solicit custom mugs, but maybe if it was a coffee shop I already wholesaled with and they were like, hey, what would it take to brand some mugs in our business? So So yeah, 200 mugs, and they were Stein. So I think the conversation started in July. The delivery was December 1st. It probably took a month and a half to get samples done of different mug shapes of the size similar to what they were wanting with the volume. And then I went the decal route. So I did not want to do the badges. I knew I didn't want to do the badges. I think that's just a personal preference as well as a workflow preference I had. I foresaw issues with badges, and I'm sure you've probably run into this when you have pieces that you've made. Something comes up throughout the process, and the piece can't be used. You can't use that mug for some reason, whether it's a greenware, bisque, or glaze. So I wanted mug bodies that could be used if I didn't use them for the mug club. So that's kind of how I went the decal route. And I also hadn't had experience with decals. It was pretty fresh and new for me there. I'd done one little thing with decals but it wasn't anything to that scale. So, I think the making cycle was probably the most stressful, of making sure that I was keeping up with just the quantity that I had to maintain to get to that number.
Yeah.
Because I didn't actually start making them until probably August, or like late August, maybe September. Like once we got them settled on the colors and the style and here's what it looks like with the decal. So, just that upfront back and forth. And I think if I had some finished pieces, it would have been easier, and I could have recommended, okay, these colors are the ones that I would recommend with decals, and these I would avoid. Because I know some places
Ryan
will
also
have recommendations, but go ahead.
Ryan also doesn't have a slab roller.
No.
And he's like the least risky person I've ever met in my life. So.
I mean, Becca, you've done a number of badges, but I feel like if you were to compare the work involved in a badge mug versus a decal mug, I would suspect decals are easier and less risky.
Where did you source the decals from?
I got the decals from Isaac's shoe.
Okay.
He has a decal printer and he prints them for a number of people. That's kind of on the down low, but if people want that, they can reach out to Isaac and he'll help you out.
I don't know if they should do that now because I don't think he's at home right now. But I've done decals and badges on the same mug before. That was awful.
For a mug club?
Yeah.
Why did you do both?
Because I didn't want to do a stamp.
Fair.
I figured having an oval badge without a stamp in it's easier than the latter, and it was easier, you know. But
there's just so many steps to doing the stamp, especially like if you're inlaying it with underglaze, so you get the contrast, and like it's just
yeah. I like
I've stopped. Oh,
I like the look of the black in the stamp. Actually, that's not true. The mug club, I have done other custom mugs, but it's been 25, I think is the max. I did it for the Appalachian Festival here in Cincinnati. I did that maybe 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I got a 3D printed stamp, but I stamped it directly into the clay body. So I threw the mugs and I stamped it directly in. I did not put a badge on and stamp the badge and attach the badge. I stamped it directly into the mug, and the issues there were, and I did a black wash in the stamp. The issues there is you have to be very selective about the glaze color because I didn't wax it. So the glaze will settle in, but and then it's, is the stamp visible with the glaze completely on it or not? I would say that was less. There's some issues there, but yeah, actually, I do remember there were quite a few I want to say seconds quality, where it covered the stamp and it was like, hey, this is not
Mm,
usable. You can't read what the brand is on here.
yeah.
Uh, I didn't have any like cracking issues or anything like that. It was just readability of the stamp
Hmm.
just
Did you
wasn't
have
there.
warping when you were stamping the body of it?
Not really, not really. I mean, it was imprinted a little bit there. So if you looked at it
Hmm.
from the inside, the rim's not wasn't imprinted, but the body of it was, it was kind of divoted in.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
did
But
have
it didn't
slight.
like go out of round at the rim or that
No,
sort
it
of thing.
didn't.
Yeah.
There were slight bellies on them, so it got a
Oh,
little tough
okay.
with like, retaining the texture. So, a straight walled side would be better with a stamp in there because it
Hmm.
would, accept all the texture pretty well. But I think it had to do a lot with when I was stamping them to make sure that it was the right dryness, but also just um not so um not so wet that it's going to deform the rim like you're talking about versus
Hmm.
too stiff where it's going to cause cracking on the inside. I think I had
Yeah.
a little bit of cracking, but the decals I had, the main issues were the volume. I made some that were too big and too small, but the two small ones I just saved the bisqueware and I never put any decal on them. I never glazed them
Hmm.
either. Or I
Tell me
might
what
glaze
you did
a couple, but
that you tell me how you didn't listen to me when I told you should get a laser level.
yeah, I should have got a laser level, especially because they were straight up and down. The decals are much better to attach onto a straight up and down wall, just because the amount of bubbles and keeping them nice and flush. Because if there's any little bit of bubble in the decal, it'll burn out in that spot. And it'll just look like a
Hmm.
void.
Hmm.
Um, Luckily the clay body was speckled, so there's a little bit of a little bit of extra stuff happening there, so it didn't look as obvious if there was a little void. But um, yeah, I just thought the decals were pretty good. But yeah, the laser level would have helped. I don't know. What do you do? I mean, you're doing like 15 or 30 at a time. Are you, besides just weighing out the same amount of clay, are you doing anything special to make sure they look consistent? Or
She doesn't need to
Not
because she's
really.
smart.
I
what does that
don't.
mean?
She's not putting numbers on the bottom of them and they're not staying in the shop. She can
And
just sell them.
I'm not guaranteeing a specific ounce either.
That's
Like
great.
for a mug
Yeah.
club, I feel like if you're shooting for a specific ounce, you have to kind of follow through on that. Whereas I really play up the whole like, this is handmade pottery, so each one is going to be different and like they'll all be roughly the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the understanding is that none of my custom wholesale clients had ever expected them to like be exactly 12 ounces or
Hmm.
be exactly the same size and shape. So I set it up in a way that I don't have to deal with that quite so
Yeah.
much. But if I ever did like a mug club for a brewery or something, yeah, that would definitely be more important.
Have you had one of
Yeah,
those
like
cafes ask you like, "Hey, we're gonna get some mugs, but we're gonna use them in the our business for serving customers"?
I have, and actually the Benson's Diner talked about that at first too, and I heavily discourage that just because they get used so
Like
intensely that like
breakage and
things, yeah, chip and break all the time. And I'm like, like if you really want me to do that, that's fine. But a lot of these places are wholesaling mugs for like $2 a piece from, some bulk company that
right.
to then try to wholesale mine. I don't think it would make sense. So I always am just really upfront with people like, look, this is what it's going to look like for you. And, if you want to do that, I'm game, but
Would
I'm
you
glad
change
no
the
one's giving
price
me a
based on
thought.
if they plan to use it that way versus reselling it?
No, because I still have to do the same work for it. So I don't think I would change it.
Okay.
What would you
Oh,
like? Were you thinking
I was
more
kind
or
of
less
comparing
or?
it. I was kind of comparing it to like a restaurant order where they're probably not going to reorder that often because you're typically delivering a big number of them, like 50 of them.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And from a couple people that have done restaurant orders and I want to get Bethany on here at some point that does restaurant orders. she's kind of talking like it's kind of in between a wholesale and a retail where it's like a
So like
middle
more
range
money.
cost. So you would charge more than wholesale because there's no intention of reselling that item. It's,
Okay.
hey, we're making this for you to use, and it's not easier for you to make 50 of the same thing than it is to make 15 or 10.
Sure.
And I would suspect they would probably want more accuracy from one to the next.
Yeah, that's true.
And to, I want to say to hold up to the wear and tear, but I mean, you wouldn't make them that much different. So
Right. Yeah, and I don't feel like my pots are particularly fragile or anything, but I just think that the wear and tear that like they go through in restaurants and cafes and all of that is just so intense. Like things are going to break no matter what. And I don't know, it just stresses me out to think about
A cafe is so different. I mean, like not from a brewery, but like they're using so many mugs and it's such like a high-paced environment. I feel like even breweries are less paced, like a less high-paced environment than like a cafe or a breakfast joint or a diner. Like, oh my God.
It just doesn't, to me, buying handmade stuff for a restaurant or a diner, it doesn't make financial sense to just do that for the novelty of having something handmade. Unless you like really are bought into it.
Sure.
I'm like, how does it make how do they get over the financial burden of paying for that? Because you're adding to an experience, I think, is the main value that you're providing. And it's hard to put a number on that because you're not, I mean, maybe it's part of how you charge for your dishes and your item, like the meals that you're providing or the cost of the drink. You kind of build it in there somehow, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Huh. So how have the do you pretty much do badges for most of your pieces now that are the custom wholesale?
I do badges for most of them. I started playing around with, I got like a Cricut printer machine so I can cut out vinyl stickers. So I can do like a resist essentially. I can cut out a logo, put that sticker on the mug and like paint underglaze over it and then peel it off. So it kind of, I don't know if I have an example of one of those that I did online.
I have
a local cafe did that.
You know what? Also, I don't know if you've ever screen printed before, but if you find like sheets of mesh, screen printing mesh, you can put the vinyl over it and create a screen, and then you can like rub it onto your badge and then move it, and then rub it onto your badge and then move it. I used to do that.
I haven't done that, but that is definitely on my list of things to try to play around with because I feel like that would streamline this process a little bit.
Yeah, I used to do badges like for most of my mugs, and that's how we would do it. Well, I mean, I would just get screens printed for me, but you don't have to. You can print your own screens now.
That's true. Yeah.
So, actually, Heidi just did a screen printing workshop. Yeah.
Oh, I saw that.
Because some of the businesses have. Becca, did you get yours from like Mako or something? They have easy screens. Is that what they're called? Or I think Meg might use that.
I think Speedball actually has screens that you can print.
Oh, do they?
And then, but I got mine locally because we had a really good screen printing, like business in town. So, and it was one of my friends, so I just got it locally. And on top of that, there was a company that made screens like 2 blocks down. And so they sold me the screens, and then I would just take them to him, and he would, it was just like a process.
Okay. So Sarah, you're putting those on directly on the mug, or you're still doing a badge and then you would put that?
I'm putting it directly on the mug at like the Bisqueware stage. I was trying to look. I know I have pictures somewhere and it's not coming up.
Is it the Kickstart Cafe? I see that one.
Yep. That's what I was looking for. That's the one.
Okay.
I've done a few like that, but I think that's the only one that I did like a wholesale thing that I posted.
Oh, I see the vinyl here. Yeah, so you peeled it off and then trying to see what you're going to do with it. I'm guessing you're going to put it on transfer tape. And then you're gonna put it
Yep.
directly on
Put
the
it on
mug.
transfer and then right on Bisqueware.
Nice.
And then put some
Okay.
underglaze over it.
Underglaze. Okay. So the underglaze on bisque, and then you're glazing around that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems pretty solid. I like plus the color of the mug looks really nice.
Yeah, it
Under
came out like so crisp, and I was really, really happy with the way that those ones came out. And I, it's hard to judge. Like at first, I thought they were gonna be a little quicker than doing the badges, but I think all in all, it ended up being the same amount of time. But it just was a different aesthetic for people who wanted something different.
Yeah. Do you have a preference between the two different ways?
Um, I I don't like I get frustrated by the timing constraints of doing the badges, of like needing to get everything attached and pulled together at just the right time. But this can feel just very tedious to like do the transfer tape and
Yeah.
peel it all and all of that. Um, so I like doing the vinyl stickers just because I could like make a batch of mugs and have them sitting on the shelf ready to go if someone wanted to do one of these projects. Whereas with the badge mugs, I'd have to start from scratch. Like I can't just pull them off the shelf and
Right.
have put badges on them, kind of like with the decals. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Hey guys, we are just interrupting the program because we want to talk about one of our other sponsors, a brand new sponsor to us, Speedball Ceramics. And I'm going to let Ryan talk about a few things that are happening at NCECA, and then I'll come back and tell you what you can find there as well.
All right. So if you're going to stop by NCECA in Richmond in late March, we'd love to see you there. Speedball is going to have a booth at the vendor hall. It's booth number 208. And Becca, myself, and Erica, my studio assistant, we're going to be demoing on Thursday from 2 to 4. You'll definitely want to stop by their booth a number of times throughout the conference. Last year, they had a bunch of bats that were just piled up, and they were giving those away. So definitely hit those booths early if you're in the vendor hall, and we'd love to see you. So come by.
Yeah, they are also going to have the brand new mid-fire glazes that they just came out with, like I think only a couple months ago, and they'll also have their underglaze out as well. And what's cool about the underglaze is that they just came out with a new formulation that they announced, so that'll be exciting to kind of see how that compares to the old formulation, and just to see all the colors, and also to meet all the people at Speedball and see how lovely they are. And so you can understand why we love them so much.
Yeah, there's so many demo presenters throughout the day. They just shared the list with us recently, and it's, there's like 4 to 5 people demoing each day, or maybe more than that. There's just so much going on. So definitely stop by the booth 208 at NCECA. If you're not going to NCECA, you can still check out their website, speedballart.com, see what's going on over there. They've got a lot of info in there.
And they sell through Clay King, and they sell through Blick. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to buy from a regular art store, too, if you're in a big city. So, yeah, cool. Thanks, and hope you like the rest of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to just pull Bisqueware and do what you got to do. And
Mm-hmm.
there's only one step after that. I would guess the glazing is a little different though, because I see the glaze is very up against the edge of that. Is that because it's painted on, or is it?
I think I put wax over the logo and
Wax in
then
the
did the
logo.
glazes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was seeing
Just to
the
kind of keep
finished
it clear
result. Okay. Yeah, I like having the different options, and the badges. Do you just put those in damp boxes so you can just stock up on them, and then you just attach all of them at once, or?
No, I like working in like big batches because once I'm in the groove of something, like that's just I want to do all of that stage. So I'll throw like when I had the 100 mug orders, I would just like sit down and throw 100, 110 or whatever mugs, and then I do the badges at the same time like I'm doing the handles. So I just try to make like if it's a big order, I try to make a couple days of it where I just roll out all the slabs for all the badges, cut them all out, and then kind of keep them under plastic. So as I'm like handling, then I can pull a badge, and I try to keep it right at that time. So I don't make them ahead of time so much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just hard to keep them the right level of dampness. And I don't really use damp boxes much. So maybe if I use them more consistently, it would be easier. But
I live and die by the damp box. I have 6 in my studio right now.
Well, I think the damp boxes are really nice for badges. Like, I think putting them into small Rubbermaid containers just for the badges, like getting those done and like having them done and like just having them in a box, and then like you make your mugs or whatever, then you can like slap them on whenever you need to.
Yeah.
That's what I use damp boxes for.
Yeah.
And then the handles, are those, I'm guessing those are all individually pulled, or do you extrude them?
No, I like the pulled feel better. A lot of people can extrude very well. I cannot. So I pull handles a lot better.
Same.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve with extruded to make them look not extruded.
Yeah. And just, to make them feel right. Like, people who know how to do it so well. But if you pick up a mug that has a poorly extruded handle, it's just like, it doesn't feel like it's meant to be held. It's very confusing.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you feel about the pricing part of it? Do you, with the business selling it, do you suggest a retail price for them and then just let them go with it how they want, or do you feel any way about how they decide to price it or not?
I don't really care how they price it. I feel like I have a couple wholesalers that sell mugs that I make and sell in my studio and on my shop and all of that. And that I care more about having consistent. Like, it feels weird for someone to come to my shop and pay one thing and then see the mug somewhere else for $10 less. Like, that kind of bothers me. But for custom mugs that are made specifically for them and have their logo, I don't care. I got what I asked out of the batch, and I will give them, like, I'll help them figure out pricing. So I'll tell them what other local businesses are selling them for, or this business did really well and it's similar to your business and this is how they priced it, but you do you. So a lot of them want to be talked through pricing. So I'll advise if they want, but I don't have a vested interest in it. It's kind of like, it's up to them. It's specifically for them. No one else is going to be selling it. So whatever, if they want to sell it for exactly what they paid me for it, I don't care. Go for it.
Right. There's something to like salvage what they paid for it, kind of.
Yeah.
So like the one that was the custom sheep one, you actually sell mugs yourself just like that. So what would you wholesale that to them for, and what would you sell at retail for yourself?
So the custom sheep one was a badge that I created with like a stamp from their farm. So I don't sell any of those on my own. That was just a regular wholesale. Like, I do sell sheep mugs, but I just do like a little wax resist fluffy sheep on it, or like a dotted sheep or something. It's totally different from that one. So I didn't really have to compare the two. It was the same as any other sort of wholesale where I gave
So
them
you
the
wholesale
price.
that for like a 34?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what do you retail your just general sheep one? That's not the identical one, but like
okay.
Similar
Yeah,
style.
just a similar idea. So my sheep mugs, the little like camp style mugs, the straight side with the little fluffy sheep, those are, I think I retail them for $55. And the dotted sheep ones are $62.
Nice.
Okay. Trying to see the other ones. Oh, I see some of them that are. Those are like Sgraffito ones.
Yeah, I did do a run of Sgraffito earlier. I didn't.
That's quite a few.
continue
That
to
was
make
37
those.
weeks ago. That was a bit ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the two that I keep coming back to are the little dotted ones and the.
Yeah, the dotted ones are so cute.
Who doesn't love dotted anything? Like dotted dots.
So do you are you hand dotting it, or do you it sounded like you had a template or something that you lay on there?
No, I hand dot them.
I have like
I have like an oval that I use a pencil and I trace it just so I have a rough idea of how big I want the sheep to be on the mug. But I have like an air pen and I hand dot them all.
Okay.
Yeah, those take a little while, but they're so cute.
Yeah, they are.
And knitting ladies love them. So
Oh, I bet.
I will keep making them.
Do you have people that see them and they're like, what is that?
Yes, people think they're hedgehogs all the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
They look like hedgehogs.
They do look like hedgehogs. I will give that.
Yeah, if you want it to be a hedgehog, it could be.
Exactly.
It could be whatever you want it to be. Yeah.
Yes.
So are there limits on what you would be willing to wholesale of style wise? Because I would suspect there's some styles that would be a little too advanced or too
definitely.
technical.
Like some people asked about wholesaling like the dotted sheet mugs, and I was like, that doesn't make sense for me. Like I can't, it's too time consuming. I'm not interested in wholesaling that. Or I also work with a bunch of like flower farmers and florists because that's what I used to do. And I had someone approach me about a vase, but they wanted it to be like this wavy kind of hand altered vase, which was going to be gorgeous, but it was going to take so long to do. And I'm like, it does not make sense to wholesale that for me. Like I can't make that make sense. And I feel bad saying no because it's like a creative idea and I love it, but
it sounds like it's out a little outside the realm of what you typically make as well.
Yeah, definitely. The trial and error I would have to go through to do that vase, to just come up with a style that I felt looked nice, was that alone. Like I just couldn't.
I feel like it's a balance of also, am I going to be satisfied with the like, will I make enough money that it actually is like, okay, I'm happy I did that.
Yeah, true.
Well, it's kind of like walking into a hamburger joint and asking for a birthday cake. You know, it's like.
Yeah, and people don't understand, like, they'll say like, oh, she's a potter, so she can make this thing. And I'm like, oh, that's like a totally different thing than what I normally make.
Yeah, I'm like,
so
I don't hand build. This is not,
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You're welcome to use that analogy. We both make food. It's just not the same.
Totally.
Yeah. So how much of your business is actually those wholesale versus, the markets and online?
So I actually was inspired to do one of those year-end like wrap-up sort of things.
Oh.
From you guys.
Yeah, I did see that.
And I don't think I put the percentage ones on there. Oh wait, no.
Okay, so you put the colors and stuff. I don't know if there's
wholesale was 21% of my income last year because I had a bunch of the big like 100 mug orders. 62% of my income was markets, and 16% was online sales.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the breakdown? Do you like the breakdown overall? Like, would you go toward that again this year if you could? Like, if you could repeat it?
I think I would do, well, what I'm planning to do is less wholesale. I still want to do wholesale, but I just want to be more mindful of like, there are some wholesale projects that I did last year that I really loved, that I thought were just like so satisfying to work with these people. And I loved having my pieces in their business. And there were others that just felt like way more work than what they were worth. And so I want to keep working with people that make sense for me to work with, but I don't want to focus on that as much as I did. Like this time last year, I was just all about making these wholesale connections.
Right.
And I'm being kind of choosy and not doing that.
With some of those conversations and those customers, I feel like it's something you don't really know until you get in the weeds of it, what you're getting involved with. Unless you could probably kind of get a sense with what kind of questions you're getting asked and the types of how specific they're getting. But, is it price that would make it more worth it? Or is it just saying no? And that's like, okay, this is where we're at. Like, I can't accommodate that right now.
Yeah, I think it's saying no and listening to those little twinges where you're like, oh, this person seems like really high maintenance, and listening to that, where I didn't do that last year. Like the mugs that I really liked making, and they also were the ones that sold the best, came from people who had followed my work for a while, knew what my style was, came to me and said, hey, we're thinking about this idea and this aesthetic. We just want to see what you come up with. Like they left a lot of trust in my hands, and I don't expect everyone to do that. But the people that it didn't go well with were the people that saw, oh, that person sold out super fast. I want in on that because I want to sell out super fast.
Right.
And then they're like micromanaging everything. Like I was working on
they ask for updates constantly.
Yeah, I was working on 2 different mug orders for 100 mugs each for businesses that were both like, we trust you. Like they gave me guidelines, like I wasn't totally in the dark, but they're like, we love your work, we just want you to do these. And then I was working on one other order at the same time, and it was for a business that I did not know at all. And they ordered 15. They only wanted the bare minimum, which is fine. Like I have a minimum for a reason. They ordered 15, and I had so many phone calls. I had to send so many picture updates, and it was so much work for these 15 mugs. When these other 200 mugs, the people were just like, we like what you make us something. And
right.
And
I mean,
it's not always going to be
good
like
thing
that,
they
for
didn't
sure.
have you. Good thing they didn't have an order in for 100, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's so true. But there were totally signs early on where I was like, this person seems like a lot of work, and she was paying me good money, and she deserves like to get what she wants with her money. But I just don't think we were super compatible. It was more stressful for me than anything.
Yeah. I have a customer right now actually who and I did this mug club. I'm not making a whole mug club. I'm just kind of like adding on to a mug club per se, and she seems like when you text her, she seems like the most picky human being on the planet. And then when you call her, she's like so easygoing, and I'm like, what is going on? I was for sure, like when I first talked to her, I was like, this is not going to work out.
But you talked to her in person, or you talked to her through text or email, or what?
I talked to her through text and email, and then I like handed them off and like called her and talked to her, and she's like, oh yeah, that looks great. They just need to be a certain size. You can do whatever with the color, blah, blah, blah. They have to be shiny on the inside. And I'm like, oh.
It's just the tone, I guess. The tone
Okay.
through text. She's not the best with tone through text, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think she had a questionable experience beforehand, so she has every right to be concerned. And like, right. I think the only thing she's super, super picky about is that they have to be the right size. And I, of course, did them exactly the right size last time, so I kind of kicked myself in the butt on that one. But like,
because she expects perfection, like last time.
Yeah. But like this time, I was like, well, when do you need them by? And she's like, I need them by April 1st. And I was thinking it'd be like 100 and 150. And she's like, oh no, I just need 30. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Can I get him to you mid-February, and like, I get the money?
Yeah, like she's just like really, it's just like it completely throws me off, because I have done plenty of things where it's the same thing where you like, they just let you do whatever you want and it's great. And they're like, do it. And then other people you're just like, could you stop? Like, I've got it. I am a professional.
Like people who let me do what I want because they had followed me long enough and like knew what my aesthetic was like, they were also people who then were super enthusiastic resellers of these mugs, because they were like, Sarah made these, we were at this event with Sarah, and like it's a whole other thing to them. It's not just they're wholesaling from a random person that they found
it's
online.
a personal experience.
Totally,
for sure.
Right.
Totally.
Instead of like, hey, you're the potter, you're the means to an end, I need mugs. Right. You're the person that I need to deal with to get this thing done.
I just had my memory jogged when I was in the middle of those 2 big orders. It was about this time last year. And this was when I had known about the podcast, but I hadn't listened to too much of it. And I was like, I'm going to just hole myself up in the studio for like all of February. And I started at the very beginning of the Real Talk podcast.
I'm so sorry.
It was a wild ride, you guys. I loved it.
Becca was in Washington.
I was listening to it on 2x speed and I was flying through episodes just
I'm
in
not
the
even
studio,
that crazy.
just by myself listening to you guys.
That's rough, bro.
It was hilarious.
How many did you get through? Funny. Did you get through like
so many?
So many. Gosh.
It's funny because people I meet are like, "You have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." Or I just met this like wonderful human being at the last show that I was at, and she's from Texas and she has to drive home. And I saw her the next day and she's like, "I didn't know you had a podcast." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'm gonna listen on my way home." And I was like, "Well, don't start from the beginning. Don't." I'm like, "You can listen, just don't start from the beginning."
I feel like you were just burnt out city, like in the beginning of just like you were talking about like taking caffeine pills to stay up all night, to like throw all night.
I don't remember the caffeine pills.
A market.
I remember.
I didn't know caffeine pills were a thing, and
I remember that from Saved by the Bell. I remember.
I think that I
Jesse
felt
Spano
like
taking caffeine pills, saying, "I'm so excited."
did you ever see the movie Meet the Robinsons?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh God, you guys are missing out. Okay.
I'm guessing that's an old movie.
No, it's a Disney, it's like a Disney like animated movie, and this kid is like super freaking smart, and he but he doesn't have any parents, and he's trying to get adopted, blah 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 blah. But there's one character in the movie that she's the like mom. Well, I mean, she's not the mom, but she is the mom. She's like the person that comes to grade the science fair and to like judge the science fair. And she invents a caffeine patch and she like puts it on her arm and she's like, "I have 7." And she like brings up her arm. She's got like 7 patches on her. And I'm like, that was me. Except for I wasn't as enthusiastic. Yeah, that was me.
Caffeine pills.
Yeah, and then like randomly she just starts sleeping like in the middle of like, and like yeah, I had to have caffeine pills so that I could get to Leavenworth and like be alive
because you had to drive
I felt like
so
it would
early.
I felt like it would be safer or better for my body instead of drinking fucking Red Bulls. So
yeah, maybe.
I mean, the jury's still out on that. But what's hilarious is that I was just talking to a friend that is at Art in the Park, and we were talking about how like nice it is to have that like stability. And I'm like, part of me is like, God damn it, Becca, you should just fuck Art in the Park this year. Just fucking go back. But we'll see.
It'd be way different work than what you had before there.
Yeah. It would be rough.
Yeah. So Sarah, with the amount of wholesale and everything and the online and shows, were you having to find that balance of when you're making for wholesale versus like, did you have to dedicate certain times a year when you could do the wholesale, or was it totally reactionary of when they come up? I have to decide on the spot, can I do it or can I not?
It's a little bit of both. Like I definitely try to have wholesale orders that I'm working on in the slower times of the year. But of course, a lot of people aren't thinking about it until the autumn because they want them for the holidays. So I definitely try to fit in whatever I can, but I then am like really upfront and going like, so this needs to happen like way earlier next year or whatever. But it's hard to do because like I had someone reach out to me in November this year looking for wholesale custom mugs. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I cannot take on anything else before Christmas. But like, let's touch base in February. And I just reached out to them and they were like, oh, I don't have money for that right now. And I'm like, I get it. Because like no one feels like they have money right now. Right. But I'm like, if you want them, like maybe I can fit them in later this year, but I can only guarantee them if you want them now. Like, so if you want to take your chances, like I'm never going to push someone into it, but like, if she's okay with waiting until September and checking in, that's fine. But September is like a massive wool and fiber event month. So it feels like yeah, trying to kind of balance that is
what I was trying to do to help Becca, go ahead.
This is not related at all, but I just want you to know that next year when you have your recap, I'd like there to be a button section.
Yes, will do.
Buttons. Yeah.
Buttons.
That would actually be really interesting to see. Yeah, I'm definitely doing that.
Cool.
Yeah, buttons. The things I was shift. I'm trying to think how many wholesale clients I have. Maybe 6 or 7. And the thing that I was doing was certain times a year. Let's say it's for the holidays. I would just send a quick email to them in September, or, maybe August, and just say, hey, the holidays are coming up. I'm trying to plan for my season to make sure that I can accommodate you. If you can let me know if you need anything for the holidays, I would be I'd appreciate it so that I can make sure to make sure you're taken care of. And then I think around Christmas time, I actually send them. I started doing this last year, and I don't know if it's because I grew up writing thank you cards, but I was writing each of them thank you cards and mailed them out to them around the holidays to just say like, hey, thanks for working with me this year. I'm looking forward to 2024. Hope we can continue working together. And it kind of gets it in their head about, hey, like I still want to work together. And then the one place, the coffee shop, they usually get 6 mugs at a time, so it's very easy, and they do it around the holidays. So they were like, hey, we're at in mid January, can you get me 6 mugs for Valentine's Day? So they got 6 mugs, and then within a couple days, or over a important weekend after I already delivered them, they were like, we already sold 4 of them, can we get 6 more? So they just reordered quickly, and they're pretty conservative with their get them, make sure they sell them before they order more. They don't order 12 to 15 at a time because they just don't have the room to display all of them. And they've been really flexible with, hey, deliver 6 of anything, like, so it's super easy to do that. And I think having those holidays with, Valentine's Day, somewhat Mother's Day, some of your wholesalers might want stuff for Mother's Day. That's an option. And then, Father's Day for some places, if it's, some mugs and items like that. So besides the holiday season later in the year, those are kind of ones that I've found that some of those businesses are willing to get items in preparation for. But if it's branded mugs, maybe not as much as just mugs in general.
Yeah, or like Mother's Day is a big one for me, working with the flower farmers. They all want vases for Mother's Day. So like that's something that I'm already working on for people, which is nice to have that, because there aren't too many people that want mugs right now.
Yeah. And I was just backed with the time you're spending making for markets and having inventory for everything like that. Like consignment is not useful for you.
Yeah, there's never been a reason for me to agree to consignment.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to, like, the first place I ever sold was like generous enough to sell my like wonky little pots, and I was just thrilled to consign anywhere, and like I'm super grateful that they did that. But once I did more, it felt like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a good fit for the way I do things.
Yeah. I think it's like a balance of how demanding are they, just like you're talking about the wholesalers, how much do they kind of bug you to get more stuff in? Because
how many wholesale do you do, or how many consignment accounts do you do?
I was gonna pull that up for 2023. Let's see. I want to say consignment is about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but yeah, okay. 5 places. And one of them is the store that my wife works at. So like they're not demanding. Two of the 5 are pretty not demanding, but they sell the most. So it's like it's fairly consistent. But also they have all the work that I've ever delivered to them that hasn't sold since the beginning. So like they shouldn't be low in stock of my work in general, but it's just certain forms. Like this one gallery needs more mugs. So it's like, hey, I'm, making mugs right now so that I can give them, hey, how many mugs do I need to give them to keep them off my back for the next, you know, 3 months or something. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can give them 15 mugs now, and that should hopefully hold them over for a bit. And then the other one, they're all set. Like they sell pretty well, and they don't really ask much. They never have asked me to bring more stuff, but I kind of do it as I need to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about a third of the sales of all of my consignment sales.
Okay.
And they're one that I can take different items like vases and, you know, some mugs and like serving dishes, like bigger things, and I can price it slightly higher because I don't sell them at vases at shows really. So I'm okay with setting a price that's slightly uncomfortable. I've priced some vases at $150 there. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna get 60% of it when it sells, but it's like, hey, I'm willing to give you that because I don't want to take them to and from shows and have them not
Sure.
sell. And I kind of get I get down on not selling those items. So, having stuff like that gives me flexibility with some of those. And then the other two are one of them is the yarn store. It doesn't sell as much, and it's a little more demanding of, hey, we want a fresh batch of stuff, and it's tough because I'm like, how much maintenance am I having to do with this account, and how much return am
Mm-hmm.
I getting on it? So I'm kind of getting to that point where it's a little tough to say, okay, at what point do I need to say, I need to step back from selling here? Because that's
Yeah.
what I had to do with the other yarn store where, when you have so many accounts and you have wholesale and consignment and shows and stuff, you can't keep checking on them all the time. And if you have to be
Mm-hmm.
the one to check on them and they're not gonna proactively send you checks or reach out to you, then it feels like what's the partnership here? Because it's
Sure.
just a little odd.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last one's the gallery, the Clay Lines Gallery, which I pretty much just drop stuff off there, and they sell once a month. They have a art walk every month, and that's so cheap to do. It's a flat fee for the year. It's like $90 for the year, and then I get 90% of the sale.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So it's a little different with that than
Sure.
a typical gallery because galleries have staff and they, you're not going to have that with most places, but
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Yeah.
wholesalers, I've got like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 10 last year, but most of those are, I would say, like higher quantity. I sold more than $1,000 to 3 of them,
Okay.
and the lowest was like a little under $300. So, so most of them are pretty, middle of the road. They're not taking too much time away, and it's just, I can accommodate for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's nice to have the wholesalers that just like a certain form and they give you flexibility on the colors and stuff. So like one of them's a oil bottle shop. They buy oil bottles because it's like a soaps and such place,
Mm-hmm.
and they put them in like gift boxes. So they're like, hey, can I get 30 oil bottles? You can decide what colors they are. I just need them by 2 or 3 months from now,
Yep.
and they're super flexible. So I like those kind of wholesale, kind of like the coffee shop where it's, hey, make your mugs, standard mug, pick the colors you want, and deliver them
Mm-hmm.
by this time, and it's super flexible. It's not customized necessarily, and
Yeah.
also I can sell those retail if I have extras, or if I have
Totally.
pieces that I haven't sold to at shows over time, I can put those in with the wholesale order,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I
kind of
feel
like
like
those scenarios.
I think I have 3 wholesale accounts that are not custom orders. And they were all pretty much like, we just want this many mugs, just like we don't really have any preference, just bring us mugs. And that worked out pretty well. But what I find is maybe it's just the locations of these places. Maybe people aren't going in expecting to spend more, but I kind of price my standard mugs at $45. That's what I sell them for online. Well, online's a little different with Etsy, I guess. There's a couple dollars more on that, but in person at my studio, $45, and I don't have any problem selling them. But most of these places, I dropped them off in like September of last year. So I haven't checked in the last couple of weeks, but most of them are sitting on a lot of the mugs. Like they've sold some, but they also have mugs from other potters in the area that are priced at $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like,
what kind of business is it? Is it a gallery or a boutique where they sell goods, or is it an
yeah, one of them is like a boutique sort of shop. And well, two are boutiques. One is like a coffee shop, gift shop kind of space.
Okay.
But I'm not super invested in having mugs there. Like if I can sell them just fine on my own, like it's okay to me, but it is a little bit of a bummer. And also I'm just like, how are these other potters just consistently selling mugs for $28? Like how is this working?
Well, at least doing those wholesale, you've already got your money, and you kind of just feel bad for them that you would like them to move so that it hopefully brings them back to you in the future to buy more.
Just
you're open
even
to
if
it.
they don't want to buy more, like I don't want them sitting on inventory for forever. So I've offered to swap them out, like if they think different colors will work better or like whatever, like I'm working with them, and no one's upset about it, no one's unhappy, but it is just one of those
and
things.
If they wanted them to move, they could discount them, have a there's one of the galleries here that I consign with, they every January they do a discount. The whole month is discounted. I don't know if that's to get cash flow at that time of year, or if it's just to cycle out some old stock,
move out some old inventory
to get customers just in during January. So it's like 15% off the whole store during January. So I think it's good for them to do that. And they can discount those mugs. They've already paid for them. They know how much they paid for it. So going over to the next year, it's kind of like a sunken cost sort of, but it's the money's already spent, so it's kind of like added money if they sell anything next year. Okay. So what kind of like markets are you choosing to do? Are you doing a lot of, you said local, but within a couple hours? How are you kind of choosing which ones to go to are worth it?
So I pretty much stick local for everything except the wool markets. Like that's kind of what will make me travel farther, just because it's been a really consistent clientele for me. It feels less risky. There's obviously risk, but less so. So a lot of the local markets are very like street fairs, art in the park, like that sort of thing. And then if I'm driving a couple hours, it's for wool and fiber festivals.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of we did a workshop recently, and I was talking about the different types of shows, and it was like, farmers market, local craft-ish market, where it's like teetering on indie market almost, where the customers are looking for maybe a $25 to $35 range item, and they're like monthly things, versus like a juried art show is kind of the next one, and then like longer juried art shows. But have you done some like juried art shows and felt like they've been worth it?
I've done so the art in the parks and like the art street walks that I do are all juried, but not super fussy juried. Like they do.
They're not assholes.
You don't see people with a bunch of pro
they're
panels
not looking for like frou things, and they want to curate like a nice collection of vendors, so they are mindful about it without being like super snobby about it, so which is kind of perfect. So that's most of the markets around here that I do are that variety. I'll sometimes do like the little art fair, or the 4th of July like town event or whatever, like a little thing, just even though
when
it's
they
probably
shoot
not
off a
gonna
cannon.
Exactly. Nice and festive.
Like a
mostly
parade or something.
Even if sales aren't phenomenal, I think it's important for me to have like to keep in touch with like the really local people and local businesses. So
Yeah.
I like doing those. And then my studio is right next to where the farmer's market is. So I keep meaning to like actually have a tent at the farmer's market sometime, but I just put out signs and be like, come to my studio.
Oh, it's
So
that
I
close
like doing
to
that
it?
too. Yeah.
Do people
Yeah.
actually come in, or is it kind of tough to?
It's tough because most Sundays in good weather, like in the winter months, it's somewhere else, but in the summertime, it's right next to my studio. But most Sundays, not most, but like a good portion of Sundays, I'm at other events. So I don't have like
Right.
a consistent presence there. So then when I want people to remember I'm there, I'm like scrambling and trying to be like, I exist, I'm here, come visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not super consistent, but I have an old Randall kick wheel and I really want to set that up out in the park during the farmer's market this summer
Can you actually
sometime.
transport that, or is that
It's
kind of
tough,
a
but it's
hassle?
doable.
Okay.
I have brothers. It's fine.
Okay. You'd be like, hey, come move this big ass wheel for
Exactly.
me.
When I say I will move it, I mean my brothers will move
Somebody
it for
will
me.
move it.
You have resources, yeah. Okay. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. All right.
Becca, do you have a lot of markets this year? Or are you focusing on wholesale stuff?
I'm focusing on failing. Um,
That's not true. We're still in I was gonna say January. We're in February.
we're in February. No, I mean, I just did a market this last weekend that was supposed to be amazing, and it was awful. I barely
Oh
made. I actually
no.
didn't make. Technically, I didn't make the money back that I put into the market.
Damn.
They gave me a corner booth that half of the corner was behind a post.
Oh shit.
Like
That
I
doesn't sound
paid.
like a corner.
More importantly, I paid for a corner booth, and half of it was behind a post. And like other people that didn't pay for a corner were in like a corner in the middle of the room.
Oh jeez.
And like they're the nicest people ever. It's the market for makers. They're like very super friendly people. It's just I don't know. Anyway, it went terribly, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's LA. Maybe LA doesn't like my stuff. And then and then I have another, and then I was like, well, I got to find other things. So I signed up for a little brewery market thing tomorrow, and I really was trying to focus on wholesale this year. And I'll do markets to make buy, but I really want to do like wholesale or online so that I can travel and not have to worry about markets. Like if I didn't have to carry my tent around in my van, that'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And my shelves and stuff. That'd be really freaking cool.
How is the planning for wholesale? Because a lot of wholesale, in my opinion, is waiting and seeing. Like they got to come to you. So how does wholesale become a priority when you can only do so much to like make it happen, I guess? Or is it just being prepared?
Yeah, I guess it's being prepared, but also like having good photos, having the right stuff. Like admittedly, I'm designing a postcard right now while we're talking because I do better when I'm doing things and we're talking. And like like sending out postcards, like cold calling people essentially, and like actually putting in the effort and like doing ads like I don't care if it's wholesale. If it's online, that's fine too. Like just doing like ads like we talked with Will about, and like making sure my marketing's up to snuff. And I'm just I feel like this week was the first week that I was just like, wow, I don't want to do this anymore, like for real. And so it's hit me pretty hard.
Was that mostly expectations on the show and the show underperforming?
I think so, but also this was the first show with my like new line of jewelry, so it was like I was like, oh, like I really like it. Other people have said they really like it. And then to have like 250 sales the first day and 250 sales like in dollars in sales the next day at a show you pay $500 for is like, what?
Yeah. I think what Sarah was talking about with just sticking to a bunch of like doing a bunch of shows locally, I think that's like really, it's hard to put a value on that. I don't know how big your population is, Sarah, but like if you can stick to a lot of shows within 30 minutes of your home, like I don't know how many of the regulars or just people that go to markets a lot or shows a lot, how many of those do you cross over and see over and over throughout a show season, even if it's not the same exact show? But
it's like I'm doing it the hard way, I'm going to like LA, and then I'm going to be in St. George, and then I'm going to be in Seattle,
You're throwing a dart at a map basically, and
exactly
hoping.
So it's like you have to have a product that's like really fucking good. Like immediately, like your display has to be on point, which I feel like is really good. But like everything has to be so on point that even if they don't know you, they buy your shit. And in small communities, we have a definite advantage of people knowing us and buying for part of that reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing to be like, you should be proud of that. But when you go to a different place and you like, nobody knows you, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm fine. I think I'm just gonna like keep on keeping on. I don't know about shows this year, like as far as summer is concerned. My biggest struggle is signing up for shows. I am much better in a small community where they call out and they're like, hey, Becca, we have a spot in this show. Do you want to come? I'm like so much better in that type of a community as opposed to a sign up on this application 5 months in advance, blah, 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 blah type of person.
This is the time to be signing up for those.
Right. And like this show at the brewery tomorrow is like, I messaged them and say, hey, do you guys have any spots? Yesterday. And they're like, or 2 days ago. And they're like, yeah, here you go. And I'm like, that's the type of show I want to be in.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of, you get what you pay for, right?
I don't know. It's $60. We'll see. I'll tell you tomorrow. So, I would rather do a $60 or $25 show weekly and make the money that I need than do these big ass shows that I have to like prepare for, stress for, and potentially not make any money at.
What if you had to do 2 stressful shows in a year or 3 stressful shows in a year?
And there's no guarantee, Ryan. There's no guarantee.
I know, but
like this show was supposed to be really fucking good. Like the same show. This is the same show that I did in Chicago.
I mean, LA's way different than Chicago, right?
Right. They sold 3,000 tickets to this show.
Oh, it's a ticketed event?
Yeah, it's a ticketed event. Like there was supposed to be like, as far as numbers are concerned, it was a phenomenal show. Did
it match what the crowd that you expected? Or was it just
there was tons of people.
Oh, okay.
They just didn't like, they either didn't see my stuff or they didn't like my stuff. It's just like, cool. It's almost laughable, honestly. But like, I didn't want to go up on my soapbox. But I
think you should try to do like Penrod or one of those shows in Indy and just.
Why don't I just try to do all of those shows that I always do those shows, and then I never do as well as anybody else that I know that does those shows. Like,
but at least you already have customers there, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, maybe I'll sign up for Penrod. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm trying not to do shows. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, I mean,
there's a lot of.
I think you've kind of got to a point where you're like, if I need the money, I'll sign up for something, but I don't want to plan to sign up. Like you said, 5 months in advance to put you in the spot where you have to do it because you've already committed to it.
Right, because like being in a specific location is really stressing me out right now.
Yeah.
And
the
also
plan is to like not be tethered, then why would you be like, oh, I need to be in this location for a show? Like that's defeating the whole purpose of having a van and going wherever you want.
Right, and like I've got it set up where I can print my labels right here. I can sign up to the internet, like, and I've printed 4 boxes in my van today. Like, I've got it set up where I'm perfect for online sales, like specifically for jewelry. And if I didn't have to have that stupid tent and those 3 shelves and like all of that stuff under my bed, I could actually put other things under. I could make pots. I could
Would you
I
make
could put
pots?
pottery under my bed probably.
Maybe that's your easing back
Maybe.
into more of the online. I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not a
Maybe.
earring buyer, so I have no idea what the market is for earrings or beads or buttons or anything like that. But I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Yeah. We should probably get going since it's been 2 hours.
Yeah. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Do you want to tell
Thanks
people
so much for having me.
where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, I am at Golden Earth Designs on Instagram. That is the best place to find me.
Sweet.
And
okay.
What town are you in
I am in a town called Cambridge, New York, and there are more cows than people up here. There's
more cows than people.
More cows than people. In the middle, we have to drive like an hour to get anywhere, even moderately important. So I like it here.
In like reference to Rochester, where are you?
I am on the other end of the state. Well, Rochester's kind of like in the middle, but like hour-wise.
Are you like height-wise, I guess, height-wise?
Probably pretty similar.
Okay.
Kind of about Albany. Albany's the biggest city closest to it looks like.
Yeah, I'm like an hour northeast of Albany.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, it is tiny on the map.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will meet people like in nearby towns and they'll be like, Cambridge? Where's that? I'm like, yeah, we exist.
But it's like,
it's like
right on the border of Vermont, though. It's really close to Vermont and Massachusetts, not that far.
Yeah.
I've probably been there, honestly. I've probably been there. I've probably like driven through it.
It's a great little town.
It's probably really beautiful there you got the forest there and there's some lakes and stuff nearby.
Lots of
the mountains
hills.
The mountains up there are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, very close to the Adirondacks and Catskills and all that. Yeah, lovely country.
Beautiful.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was nice to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for finally getting on. The scheduling was not in my favor, but
took a while, but we got here.
I'm happy you were patient with it.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Sarah, and we'll catch y'all next time. All right.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Wheel Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.